Hello, welcome to Study Circle. Today we are going to read Class 8 Standard Civics, Chapter 2 Constitutional Design. This is the summary of this whole chapter. This video is intended for revision purpose only. In the previous chapter, we read that in democracy the rulers are not free to do what they like. There are certain basic rules that the citizens and the government had to follow. All such rules together are called Constitution. Constitution is the supreme law that determines the right of citizens, the powers of the government, and how the government should function. Functions of the Constitution. It generates a degree of trust and coordination that is necessary for different kind of people to live together. It specifies how the government will be constituted and who will have power to take which decisions. It lays down limits on the power of the government and gives the right of the citizens. It expresses the aspiration of the people about creating a good society. History of other countries' constitution. After the War of Independence against Great Britain, the Americans gave themselves a constitution. After the Revolution, the French people approved a democratic constitution. Since then, it has become a practice in all democracies to have a written constitution. Making of Indian constitution a difficult task. Difficult circumstances. Constitution making for a huge and diverse country like India was not an easy affair, as people of India were emerging from status of subjects to that of citizens. Painful partition. The country was born through a partition on the basis of religious differences. At least 10 lakh people were killed on both sides of border in partition-related violence. Issues in merging of princely states. The British had left it to the rulers of the princely states to decide whether they wanted to merge with India or with Pakistan or remain independent. The merger of this princely state was a difficult and uncertain task. The path of constitution. Consensus. Much of the consensus about democratic India had evolved during the freedom struggle. Some basic ideas accepted by almost everyone during national movement. As far back as in 1928, Motilal Nehru and 8 other Congress leaders drafted a constitution for India. In 1931, the resolution at Karachi session of the Indian National Congress dwelt on how independent India's constitution should look like. Both these documents were committed to the inclusion of universal adult franchise, right to freedom and equality, and to protecting the right of minorities in the constitution of independent India. Familiarity with political constitution of colonial rule. It also helped develop an agreement over the institutional design, though their institutional design was not fully democratic in 1937 elections. But the experience gained by Indians in the working of legislative institutions proved to be very useful for the country in setting up of its own institutions and working in them. That is why the Indian Constitution adopted many institutional details and procedures from colonial laws like Government of India Act 1935. Our leaders gained confidence to learn from other countries, but on our own terms. Many of our leaders were inspired by the ideals of French Revolution, the practice of parliamentary democracy in Britain, and the Bill of Rights in the US. The Socialist Revolution in Russia had inspired many Indians to think of shaping a system based on social and economic equality. The Constituent Assembly. The drafting of a document is called the Constitution, was done by an assembly of elected representatives called the Constituent Assembly. Election to the Constituent Assembly were held in July 1994. The date is very important, that in July 1946. Its first meeting was held in December 1946. It's 9th December. It was elected mainly by the members of existing provincial legislature. After partition of India, the country was divided into India and Pakistan. The Constituent Assembly was also divided into the Constituent Assembly of India and that of Pakistan. The Constituent Assembly that wrote the Indian Constitution had 299 members. How many members? It has 299 members. The Assembly adopted the Constitution on 26 November 1949, but it came into effect on 26 January 1950. It was adopted on 26 November 1949, but it came into effect on 26 January 1950. Reasons for acceptance of Constitution. Broad consensus. The Constitution does not reflect the views of its member alone, but expresses a broad consensus of time. Constituent Assembly represented the people of India. The fair geographical share from all regions of country. Though there was no universal adult franchise at that time, but the Constituent Assembly was elected mainly by the members of existing provincial legislature. The Assembly was dominated by the Indian National Congress, the party that leads India's freedom struggle, but the Congress itself included a variety of political groups and opinions. The Assembly also had many members who did not agree with the Congress. In social terms, the Assembly represented members from different languages, groups, caste, class, religion, and occupation. Manner in which Constituent Assembly worked gives sanctity to the Constitution. The Constituent Assembly worked in a systematic, open, and consensual manner. First, some basic principles were decided and agreed upon. Then a drafting committee chaired by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar prepared a draft constitution for discussion. Deliberation. Several rounds of thorough discussion took place on draft constitution, clause by clause. More than 2,000 amendments were considered. The members deliberated for 114 days spread over 3 years. Each and every document presented and every word spoken in the Constituent Assembly has been recorded and preserved. These are called Constituent Assembly debates. These debates provide the rationale behind every provisions of the Constitution. These are used to interpret the meaning of Constitution. Guiding values of the Indian Constitution. Philosophy of Constitution. Values that are inspired and guided the freedom struggle were in turn nurtured by it, perform the foundation of India's democracy. These values are embedded in the preamble of the Indian Constitution. They guide all the 28 articles of the Indian Constitution. Preamble. So you can see here that is the preamble of our Constitution. Institutional design. A constitution is not merely a statement of values and philosophy, but also embodying these values into institutional arrangement. Much of document called the Constitution of India is about these arrangements. Constitutional amendment. The Constitution is a very long and detailed document. Therefore, it needs to be amended quite regularly to keep it updated. The Constitution makers felt that it has to be accordance with people's aspiration and changes in the society. They did not see it as a sacred, static, and unalterable law. So they made provisions to incorporate changes from time to time. These changes are called constitutional amendments. Some great personalities and their contributions. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Vallabhbhai Jabir Patel, born in 1875 and died in 1950. He was born on Gujarat, Minister of Home, Information and Broadcasting in the interim government, lawyer and leader of Bardoli Peasant Satyagraha. He played a decisive role in integration of the Indian princely state. Later he became the Deputy Prime Minister. Abul Kalam Azad, born in 1988 and died in 1958. He was born in Saudi Arabia. He was a great educationist, author, and theologian, a scholar of Arabic. He was a Congress leader, active in the national movement, opposed Muslim separatist politics. Later, he became the education minister in the first Union cabinet. T.T. Krishnamachari, born in 1899 and died in 1974. He was born in Tamil Nadu and was a member of drafting committee. He was an entrepreneur and Congress leader. Later, he became the finance minister in the Union cabinet. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, born in 1884 and died in 1963. He was born in Bihar and became the president of the Constituent Assembly. He was a lawyer known for his role in Champaran Satyagraha. Three times he became the president of Congress. Later, he became the first president of India. Jaipal Singh Munda, born in 1903 and died in 1970. He was born in Jharkhand, a sportsman and educationist. He was a great hockey player. He was the captain of the first national hockey team. He was founder of president of Adivasi Mahasabha. Later, he became the founder of Jharkhand Party. H.C. Mukherjee, born in 1887 and died in 1956. He was born in Bengal, became the vice chairman of the Constituent Assembly. He was a reputed author and educationist. He was a Congress leader and member of All Indian Christian Council and Bengal Legislative Assembly. Later, he became the governor of West Bengal. G. Durgabai Deshmukh, born in 1909 and died in 1981. He was born in Andhra Pradesh. She was an advocate and public activist for women's emancipation. Founder of Andhra Mahila Sabha, she was the Congress leader and later she became the founder chairperson of Central Social Welfare Board. Baldev Singh was born in 1909 and died in 1961. He was born on Haryana, a successful entrepreneur and leader of the Panthik Akali Party in the Punjab Assembly. He was a nominee of the Congress in the Constituent Assembly. Later, he became the Defence Minister in the Union Cabinet. Kanhaiyalal Maniklal Munshi. He was born in 1887 and died in 1971. He was born in Gujarat. He was an advocate, historian and linguist. He was a Congress leader and Gandhian. Later, he became the minister in the Union Cabinet. He was the founder of Swatantra Party. Bhim Rao Ramji Ambedkar. He was born in 1891 and died in 1956. He was born in Madhya Pradesh. He was the chairman of the drafting committee. He was a social revolutionary thinker and agitator against caste division and caste-based inequalities. Later, he became the law minister in the first cabinet of post-independence India. He was the founder of Republican Party of India. Syama Prasad Mukherjee. Syama Prasad Mukherjee was born in 1901 and died in 1953. He was born in West Bengal, Minister of Industry and Supply in the interim government. He was educationist and lawyer. He was active in Hindu Mahasabha. Later he became the founder or president of Bharatiya Janasangh. Jawaharlal Nehru, born in 1889 and died in 1964. He was born in Uttar Pradesh. He became the Prime Minister of the interim government. He was a lawyer and a Congress leader. He was advocate of socialism, democracy and anti-imperialism. Later he became the first Prime Minister of India. Sarojini Naidu. She was born in 1879 and died in 1949. She was born in Andhra Pradesh, a poet, writer, and political activist, among the foremost women leaders in the Congress. Later, she became the governor of Uttar Pradesh. Somnath Lahiri. Somnath Lahiri was born in 1901 and died in 1984. He was born in West Bengal. He was a writer and editor. He was the leader of the Communist Party of India. Later, he became the member of West Bengal Legislative Assembly. The interesting point of this chapter is that about Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was tried for treason by white South African government and sentenced to life imprisonment in 1964 for daring to oppose the apartheid regime in this country. He spent the next 28 years in South Africa's most dreaded prison, Robben Island. He was the first president of New South Africa. At the midnight of 26 April 1994, the new national flag of the Republic of South Africa was unfurled. National flag of Republic of South Africa was unfurled. Apartheid. Apartheid was the name of a system of racial discrimination unique to South Africa. The African National Congress (ANC) was the umbrella organization that led the struggle against it. Mahatma Gandhi was not a member of the Constituent Assembly. His magazine was Young India. Preamble. The Constitution begins with the short statements of its basic value. Most countries have chosen to begin their Constitution by taking inspiration from American model. Decision has to go through a series of consultation. Every office bearer has certain rights and responsibilities assigned by the Constitution and the law. So this video is only for revision purpose. So if you like this video, like, share and subscribe. Thank you.